Hey guys, my name is Levi. I'm the head coach here at GorillaRealty.com, and I'm back with another live training. We do these every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, so feel free to join us. Ask questions. You can type in comments below, and if I see them, I'll try to answer them and address them in these videos. But we try to tackle a different topic every week, and this week I wanted to tackle a topic that's come up several times since I did the business planning training that we did, I guess it was 2-3 weeks ago. And so just to give you some primer, if you didn't see that video, the business planning, we basically, by the numbers, we put in what your goals were, what market realities you were dealing with, and we came up with a plan of action, how many transactions you need to be doing, how many leads you need to be generating, and so on and so forth. And again, one of the questions that came out of that from quite a few of my agents, I was actually surprised, is that their goals almost didn't seem achievable, at least not as a single agent. So when they put in, hey, I want to make $500,000 this year, they put in their market realities, average sale price, stuff like that, it might say, depending on what their goals were and everything else, it might say, hey, you need to do 72 deals this year. And they said, I just can't do that. I've already been doing 45 and I'm just tapped out. I don't have any more time. And for anybody who's sort of tapped out their time, and in fact, we see this pretty regularly, I'd say that most top agents won't be able to do more than about 45 to 60 deals a year. That tends to be the plateau. Now, some of you seeing this video may ultimately say, well, I do 80 deals a year and I'm fine. And, that's pretty impressive if that's you. But the average agent, most agents that I end up talking to end up plateauing at that 45 to 60 deal range. And the reason is there's just not enough time. You get caught up with doing the deals and driving around new customers and all of that kind of stuff, and there's just not enough time. So today we're going to talk about specifically how to leverage your time by building a team. Now, there's lots of different ways that you can build a team and organize it. We're not going to hit all of them. I am going to hit some of the major ones that I see among real estate agents. And we'll talk about kind of pros and cons of each. And ultimately, I'll give you what we've learned doing business here in North Carolina, with our agents. So just to give you a little bit of background, Matt Jones is, of course, the founder of this company. He was... I actually was introduced to real estate by him. I was a buyer's agent on his team. He happened to be my dad. And he was a listing agent on the team. There were 2 listing agents and there were 11 buyer's agents. We had pretty traditional, style of team. Lots of agents use this. We call it the Rainmaker style. In other words, there's one agent that's sort of responsible for all of the lead production, and then he filters out those leads to underlings, buyer's agents, etc., that will actually handle the customers. And, it worked reasonably well, just as it does with a lot of agents and their teams, across the industry. The Rainmaker is probably the most popular style of team. Now, the problem with the Rainmaker, and what we found as the problem, is when there's one person generating the leads, and everyone else is just sort of waiting for the leads to come in and then calling them or trying to work with the customers, is that oftentimes there's not the same diligence with the leads as the team leader would have with them. In fact, one of the things that we often ran into, particularly with some of our agents, they would complain about the quality of the leads. Well, these leads aren't any good. They were the same leads we were working. They were the same leads that later on, once that agent left the team, we were doing it right after, and we were working the same leads. And at the end of the day, it wasn't that the leads were bad. Is that the agent that was sitting there just kind of taking in the leads didn't have any skin in the game. They didn't have any investment in the team other than they wanted to pick the low-hanging fruit off. And some of you are probably nodding your head if you've ever been involved with these teams, particularly if you've been the Rainmaker, the one that's generating the leads for all of your team members. You're probably sitting there saying, yep, that's what happens. I've been fine with the leads. As soon as I start passing them out to agents, everyone starts complaining and moaning. And so it ends up not being a very efficient way, oftentimes, to leverage your time. Another team style is either the partner or paid assistant style, particularly in the realm of paid assistants. This is pretty popular in the real estate industry. The problem with paid assistants is it's fixed overhead. So if you go through a slow period or something like that, you have the fixed overhead. You have to pay your assistant whether or not you have deals coming in or not. Again, the other part of it is that unless you're micromanaging that assistant and really, have either that or maybe they're just really on top of things, it's really hard to be super efficient with their time. There's a lot of sort of wasted time I've seen among the team structures where there's paid assistants. And then, of course, you have and this is something that we tried, is the team where you have specific roles. I don't mean like buyer's agents, seller's agents. I'm talking specifically, we actually went through a phase where we had two people that did all the initial contacting via phone, and that was their full-time job. They never actually wrote contracts or otherwise helped customers. They warmed them up. They were like incubation agents. They would call leads, warm them up, and then pass off hot leads to team members. And they would, fulfill some of their normal real estate duties. The problem with that particular setup that we found was that oftentimes there was some loss between the incubation people and the real estate agent. And the big thing here is real estate is a relational business still. So anytime you have someone building the initial relationship and then saying, hey, I can't help you, but this guy can, you're going to have some amount of loss there because you can't continue. You don't have the continuity of relationship from start to finish with that customer. And so ultimately what we landed on and what we found to be the most successful, tends to be actually the least stress for the team leader, is reproduction. I'll call it the Jesus model. So if you're familiar at all with the Bible, Jesus, at least from what we know in the Bible, he spent 3 intensive years on earth with his 12 disciples. And his goal with those 12 disciples is to teach them everything that he could so that they could then pass it on to others once Jesus was gone, not on the earth. And so this reproduction model is actually what we've done as well. And that's basically where we're taking buyer's agents, oftentimes newer agents. It doesn't have to be buyer's agents specifically, but oftentimes newer agents, and we're basically training them to do the same things we do. And because they're on our team, of course, we're charging them a modest split. But the money part of it isn't even so much important as basically being able to leverage your time with other people doing the same thing that you're doing. So if you have a particular lead generation method, if you have a way of talking to the customers, you're basically walking these agents through. And I actually think that this is probably, again, we found the most success with it because the agents have the same diligence with the customers that you do because they're generating their own leads. They have skin in the game there. Now, the difficult part of this is having systems and technology and lead generation methods that can easily be duplicated. I'll give you a quick plug for our system. And again, part of the reason why we built our system this way was so that we could use this team model. But basically, we wanted a system wherein we could easily train our agents to use our CRM so that we could share leads back and forth as needed. We also wanted a system wherein we could help agents generate their own leads through online direct response advertising, which is kind of our specialty. And then we wanted to give them the tools so that they could utilize that advertising method and capture leads with it. And again, this seems to be the best of both worlds. It may not be maximum profitability in the short term because you're not getting this huge split like a Rainmaker would. it's typically because the other agents are doing their role, and they're working the leads and doing most of the work. It's typically a smaller split, but long term it's lower stress, and at the end of the day, it tends to be the best way to really leverage your time. And like I said, there had to be something to it because Jesus used it. So anyways, hopefully this has been helpful for you, particularly if you're doing the business planning and you were seeing perhaps like an unattainable goal. I just can't get there. Hopefully it gets your wheel spinning a little bit. Well, how can I get to 80 deals a year if I know that I can't do that on my own? Hopefully you're thinking through, hey, I could try some of these different team solutions here. So if you have any questions, any comments, if you've had a team experience that you'd like to share with the group, that you found a sort of a model, maybe we didn't talk about it, or maybe we did, and you've had an opposite experience with it, feel free to share below. I'm sure the group would love to hear your experiences with teams or assistants or anything along those lines. You guys have a great day.